Hi everyone, it's Gwen from Tabby with another video about how you can read tarot in the Tree of Life. I have my Radiant Rider-Waite here today, and I'm going to draw a couple cards, see where they put us on the Tree of Life, and what the relationship between those cards can tell us. Because what I always do when I draw cards is I plot them on the Tree of Life, and then I look for relationships between them, but also patterns. So our first card is the Queen of Swords. Our second card is Death, and our third card is the Three of Cups. Okay, so we have a little bit of everything here. We have a court card, and we have a major, and we have a minor. So when we put these on the Tree of Life, the queens, the court cards, belong in certain sephira. They reside in certain sephira, and queens reside in Bina at the top left, and this is the sephira of the divine feminine. So we're going to put her up there, and then we look at the Death card. We can find its path, and it's on the other side of Tiferet. There's nothing that connects these two directly, or is there? And then our third card is back up in Bina, Three of Cups. This is actually a really interesting reading. I really like it when this happens because there's a lot of information here. So when you have the queens, the queens in Bina is in a relationship with Netzach called the feminine axis. It's the kind of above and below version of feminine energy. So maybe your higher self and your more earthly self. It's choosing the higher path rather than choosing what you want in that moment, that kind of thing, an aspect of feminine energy. So if you look at that axis, you see that in between the two Sephiroth, in between Bina and Netzach, you have Tiferet that connects them, and then you also have the Lover's card and you have the Death card. So the Lover's card and the Death card are both on the feminine axis. So we can think about and when I have a big reading like this, I have a connection, but they're actually quite far away. So there's a lot of information here that I can consider. So I look at the two majors. Well, what do the two majors have in common? Well, the Lovers, of course, is a very complicated card. It's about separating things, and it's also about bringing things together. What does that have to do with the Death card? Well, I think in this context, maybe you're talking about separating things in order to transform them, because they're both very much related to the concept of alchemy on the Tree of Life. The Lovers, when you're separating things, you're separating them because you want to look at the constituent parts and you want to refine them and then bring them back together. And the same kind of thing happens in the Death card. You're taking things away, you're leaving things behind that you don't need anymore. So it's definitely a stage in the alchemical process. So I would look at that as, what is happening there in relation to the reading. I wouldn't look so much at Tiferet, but consider it and see if that Sephira has anything to do with, if this was a reading for a particular question. And then after we've done that, after we've looked at this transformation, we go back up to Bina, and Bina is a very nice place to be. So that's a good thing. And particularly with the Three of Cups, the Three of Cups is abundance. It's Mercury in Cancer. It's a really nice card. So, and another interesting thing about this reading particularly is that the Queen of Swords, so she's holding a sword. The Lovers, one of the majors that's included in this reading. The Lovers is associated with the Hebrew letter Zion, and Zion is represented sometimes by a sword. So I would tend to think of this as asking you to consider what you want to cut away in order to reveal the abundance. And maybe something else to think about is that you have above and below on the Tree of Life here. You have above Tiferet and below Tiferet. And below Tiferet is sometimes more actionable things, more things that actually happen to you. And death is a really interesting path because you can go both ways. You can go up the Tree of Life and you can go down the Tree of Life. And when you're going down the Tree of Life, you're losing something you're losing your spirit, your awareness, your contact with spirit. And when you're going up the tree of life, you're losing your ego. And you're moving from Netzach into Tiferet, you have to lose your ego. So it's a really interesting place to be. It's an interesting relationship. And of course, in this reading, you're starting in 3 and you're going down to the death card below and then back up to the top. So maybe you need to, in order to stay where you are, to really enjoy where you are, to appreciate where you are, you need to get your hands dirty. Let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next video.